Now, before moving on and seeing the transition from one element to another, let me conclude this first basic introduction here by showing you that name here doesn't have to be static. You don't have to hard code it here. Indeed, let me add a line break here and add a select up here, the select control. And I want to have an option to switch between the fade and the slide animation so that we can choose this. Now we already learned how to get this value with vModel, and I want to bind it to a property here, which I will name alert animation. Now alert animation by default here shall be, let's say, fade. Now with that I can now bind here to alert animation with vModel. And this will set this depending on what I choose here in my dropdown. For this to work though, I will need to set up my values here. So to fade and to slide, these will be the values this property then takes in the end. And now I can bind name here dynamically by exchanging name like an attribute with, as we learned it, attribute binding with a colon in front of it. Now this will make this property here being bound dynamically. And of course here you then enter the property name which has the value you want to bind dynamically. That's the idea behind dynamic binding, right? We learned that. Now with that, let me just add another line break and add the form control bootstrap class here to make it pretty. And if I reload this, you see now fade is selected, hence the first alert fades in and out. But I can switch this to slide, and now it slides in and out. Though we see the issue here we fixed before by specifying what should toggle the way this transition works. So the type here is set to animation down there for the one slide animation. Well, we don't set it here when we dynamically set this to slide. So we could also set type dynamically therefore with type. You can bind all attributes like this in the end. But for now, I will leave it like this because the key thing is that you understand that you can bind these properties, these attributes set up here. The same is true, of course, for these classes here. You can bind them dynamically by adding a colon in the beginning. You use them like normal HTML attributes. This is the important thing I want you to take away here.